Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and I was always told I had a voice for radio, so today I'm going to be bringing you a look at a deck that just won the very first European Regional of the year. 265 players, and the winner at the end was Mega Rayquaza. Now, Mega Rayquaza is a deck with which many people are already familiar. We're going to go through the Mega Rayquaza deck, but we're also going to be looking at the decks you should play, the decks you shouldn't play, and more importantly, why it was such a good matchup this past weekend. And if I sound a little bit croaky, it's because I was at this regional and I had a very nice time indeed. So the basics, we have Mega Rayquaza. And we're looking here at the attack Emerald Break. 30 damage times the number of your benched Pokemon. So you have a full bench of 5, you do 150 damage for free energy. But your stadium of choice here is going to be Skyfield. You can now have 8 bench Pokemon, which means 240 damage. Unless you are facing something like a Wailord, you are rolling, ladies and gentlemen. Now, as a side note, there is a reprint of this Mega Rayquaza in Ancient Origins. It has a different ancient trait. Do not play it. It's trash. Now, the reason Rayquaza is good is because of the speed. We have the combination of Spirit Link, meaning you can evolve into a Mega without ending your turn. Usually you do have to end your turn. Spirit Link means you don't. But we have the ancient trait here, Delta Evolution, which means you can evolve into Mega Rayquaza on the first turn of the game. None of this waiting a turn to evolve malarkey, which means on the very first turn of the game you can play your Rayquaza, attach your Spirit Link, and evolve into Mega Rayquaza. No ending your turn, no having to wait a turn to evolve. That sounds pretty good. It's the reason why you don't play the secret rare. You get Fata Max, which means that you get to heal all your damage from it when you evolve. No, ladies and gentlemen. This is very, 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 very bad in comparison. The thing that makes Mega Rayquaza so good is the speed. Speaking of speed, we have a free energy attack, but that's okay. You use double colorless energy, and you have the card Mega Turbo, which allows you to attach a basic energy from your discard to one of your Mega Pokemon. Now, it's quite a lot to ask for, I get it, but it is not inconceivable on turn 1 of the game to go ahead and just play Rayquaza, Spirit Link, Mega Rayquaza, double colorless energy, Mega Turbo, and you get to attack from nothing. You can have no Rayquaza down and you can get an attack off. Now, we no longer have Battle Compressor, which used to be quite good to get the basic energy in there. Hey-ho. There are some cards, however, we do need to play with this. Number 1, you can use any basic energy, use Metal Energy. Why do we use Metal Energy? For Magearna. Magearna is too good, ladies and gentlemen. Magearna has the ability which means that your opponents cannot have any effects of their attacks other than damage. So something like a Mega Sizzle that would be discarding your double colorless, something like a Giratina that would be discarding your double colorless, cannot do so here. Now, there's way too many uses for Magearna to go into in this video, but it just saves you in so many matchups. Now, it is only effects done to your Pokemon. So, for instance, Giratina's Chaos Wheel that stops you attaching from your hand, or stops you playing tools, etc. That doesn't get affected, but there's still so many uses for Magearna. That is a card you need to play. Speaking of Jirachi promo, this was played in the deck at Liverpool at the weekend, and honestly, ladies and gentlemen, I am a fan of promo Jirachi here. Sometimes you just don't have enough to set up. Sometimes you need a turn or two to get going. So use Jirachi to get rid of a special energy attached to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Buy yourself that turn to set up. The other two cards that you desperately need in this deck are Hooper and Shaman. Now, I know you need Hooper and Shaman in most decks, Shaman in pretty much every deck, Hooper in any EX deck, but here it's even better. You need to have a whole bunch of bench Pokemon with your Skyfield to really power up that Emerald Break attack. Your opponent is going to replace your Skyfield, which means you can no longer have 8 bench Pokemon. You are going to need to recover these Pokemon, ladies ladies and gentlemen. Now, you've got cards like Super Rod, or maybe even now Karen, although Karen might be a bit slow being a supporter, which allow you to get all those Pokemon back in, but then you're going to need Hooper to get Shaman and Rayquazas, etc. In most decks, 1 Hooper is enough. In this deck, 2 Hooper is certainly not bad. The winning list in Liverpool played 2 Hooper because you just need to get your Pokemon out quickly. And it's not legal until this coming weekend, but you will want to play Dragonite EX. Dragonite EX is the new card from Evolutions, which is very, very good. Now, Evolutions is not the best set ever, but Dragonite is a very, very good card from Evolution. Now, I've done a top 10 of Evolutions. There should be a link in the description. And Dragonite just allows you to get 2 Pokemon from your discard pile and go ahead and put them into your hand. Now, they're only basic, so you can't get your Mega Ray, but everything else in this deck should be basic. And you can get Hooper and you can get Shaman from your discard pile. You can Super Rod free Shaman into your deck, grab Hooper and something else with Dragonite, and then Hooper for all the free Shaman that you just Super Rodded back into your deck. It is awesome, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I'll probably do a Rayquaza deck list analysis this week, but bear in mind, any Rayquaza list you see before Dragonite is out of date coming this weekend. Dragonite is too darned good. I went there, ladies and gentlemen. I went there. Now, there are a couple cards I would not suggest playing. One is very, very easy for me, Altaria. Yes, it's only a stage 1. Yes, it also has the Delta Evolution Ancient trait, which allows you to evolve straight away. A lot of people were using this card at the beginning. Let me spell it out nice and clearly. It's just too clunky. The whole thing that makes this deck so good is the simplicity, is the straightforwardness, is the consistency. This should be one of the fastest, most consistent decks in the format. You can set it up in 1 turn from nothing, and then you can get smashing. If you go second and have a good start, you can be taking prizes from the very first turn of the game. Yeah, Altaria takes away your weakness, and that's good, but it means 2 or 4 cards in your deck have got to be taken out to make space for it. And let's face it, we've got Zebstrika. Zebstrika is one of the best counters to Rayquaza, and the ability says that the attacks of lightning Pokemon are not affected by any effects on your opponent's active Pokemon, like the effect that Altaria gives it. Don't play Altaria, ladies and gentlemen. Now, one that is slightly better, this is a metagame call for you. It changes the deck, but it might be worth it. Jolteon EX. Now, straight away, you lose Magearna, and losing Magearna hurts. Magearna is awesome. But you've got to play Lightning Energy, which means Metal Energy's out, which means Magearna is out. Secondly, it means that you are not playing, you're playing 2 of these, and you're going to have to power it up, but you can't Mega Turbo onto a Jolteon. It is going to hurt the consistency of your deck. There is no way around it. This will be a slightly less consistent deck, and you lose Magearna. However, it allows you to win the mirror because, of course, you're hitting for weakness. And it means that you can do things like block basic Pokemon. Giratina, very, very bad matchup for Rayquaza. However, you can use Jolteon, and then Giratina can't hit Jolteon without playing a Pokemon Ranger. As a side note, you just play Hex Maniac against Giratina, but it's still very, very difficult. I am not saying that Jolteon's a bad play. I am saying Altaria's a bad play. I'm not saying Jolteon's a bad play. I am saying it's a different version of the deck, it's less consistent, and it loses a bit of its potency. But you may feel that it's worth it, given the advantages you get from Jolteon. So, why is it so good? Why did it win this weekend? And the honest answer is, ladies and gentlemen, it's matchups. We had a weird triangle going on this weekend, whereby Gardevoir was a very, very good deck, and it had a very good Volcanion matchup, because Volcanion struggles to one-hit KO it, and it can heal, etc., etc. But so then a whole bunch of people played Sizzle, and Sizzle was very, very good because it hit Mega Gardevoir for weakness. But then a whole bunch of people were playing Volcanion, which was good against Sizzle, because it hit for weakness. and it went round and round and round and round and round, kind of like rock, paper, scissors. Well, in comes Mega Rayquaza. Gardevoir, well, you're getting one-hit KOs on Gardevoir, and the 210 HP is actually really handy, because it means 7 bench Pokemon, not 8, and that can be the difference. And they're 2-hit KOing you. It should be a fairly straightforward matchup. Volcanion, well, you're one-hit KOing all of their Pokemon. The Non-EX needs 4 Steam-Ups and free energy to get a one-hit KO. The EX needs 4 Steam-Ups and free energy to get a one-hit KO. They need to get free energy onto a Pokemon, free energy in hand, with 4 EXs on the bench in order to get a one-hit KO. Although I suppose one of them could be in the active. That doesn't sound particularly useful. And with the Non-EX, even if you put a Fighting Fury belt, you're still actually only hitting 110 plus 3 Steam-Ups is 200. You need that 4th Steam-Up. And all the way along, you're setting up straight away and just one-hit KOing. An awful lot of Volcanion decks are playing Skyfield nowadays, rather than any counter stadium, so it becomes a very nice matchup. Mega Mewtwo's not quite so easy. Some of them play Parallel City, some of them play Gardevoir, but at the heart of it, Mewtwo takes a lot of energy to KO you, and you take free energy to KO Mewtwo. A standard Psychic Infinity, they have 2 energy, you have 3 energy, that's 5 energy. Times 30 is 150, plus the general 10 is 160. So you add a 3rd energy and you go up to 190. You add a 4th energy and you go up to 220. 7 energy is 210, plus the 10 is 220. So you need to get 4 energy on your Mewtwo to one-hit KO a Rayquaza. They need to get 3 energy to one-hit you. It's more difficult than Volcanion and Gardevoir, but honestly, it's pretty good. So yeah, Rayquaza just set up quite nicely. Now, Yveltal decks are playing Fright Night Yveltal, which really helps. Turns off the Spirit Link, which is good. And it does 60 to the active, 60 to a bench, and you're playing a whole bunch of Shaman. But generally, Fright Night, it's a dark and a double colourless. Now they've got Max Elixir, but sooner or later, they're going to run out of Fright Night. And things like Yveltal EX take way too much energy to one-hit KO a Rayquaza, and you should be getting one-hit KOs on them. Again, they may well be playing things like Parallel City, Hex, Gardevoir to try and slow you down, but Rayquaza still has a pretty good matchup. And Sizzle, again, it's a Mega, so you should be one-hit KOing them. Now Sizzle can go ahead and, get rid of your Stadium with its attack, which can really, really help. And, they can get rid of your double colourless if you're not playing Magearna. Having said that, they can play, and they often do nowadays, they can play Silent Lab, which turns off Magearna, which means they can get rid of an energy with Iron Crusher. So don't get me wrong, it's not an auto win, but I would say Rayquaza is favourable against Gardevoir, Volcanion, Mewtwo, Yveltal and Sizzle. Quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, it had very good matchups this weekend. Now, there are some problems. Rayquaza is one of the easiest decks in the format to tech against, and this is why, and I've said this all season, I don't think Rayquaza can have sustained success. I think it can have good tournaments, and then people start teching. Parallel City. Not only does it get rid of Skyfield, it puts your bench down to 3. So you need to find a new Skyfield, and then you need to find a whole bunch of bench Pokemon. Dragonite EX will help, but it won't do all the work. Giratina is a terrible, terrible matchup. When it uses Chaos Wheel, it stops you attaching DCE, it stops you putting down Skyfield, it stops your Spirit Link. Oh yeah, and the ability says that you cannot even hurt them. If they use Chaos Wheel and put down a Silent Lab, it's basically all over. You can play a Ranger and then play a Skyfield, but you can't attack. Or you can play a Hex Maniac and attack, but with 3 bench Pokemon, you're hitting for 90 damage. Giratina is so good against Rayquaza. And then there's cards like Raichu that hit for weakness, and especially Zebstrika. Stage 1 Pokemon for a double colourless energy that gets a one-hit KO. And as an added bonus, it will also get a one-hit KO on Dragonite EX. The other cards, which are really good against Rayquaza, are any combination of Ability Lock, think Silent Lab to turn off Hooper and Shaman, think Hex Maniac, think Gardevoir, and of course, N. You end them to a small hand after popping down a Silent Lab, it's going to be very difficult for them to recover. Not guaranteed, but sometimes it helps. And in the top cut of Liverpool, what did we see? We saw 2 Sizor decks. Now, Luke Kirkham did actually knock out Rayquaza and end them to 2, but unfortunately they hit Skyfield, Shaman and Sycamore, I believe, or Skyfield Energy Sycamore. Either way, they got everything they needed. Sometimes they will. 2 Gardevoir, which is a good matchup. 1 Rainbow Road. Rainbow Road can one-hit KO Rayquaza, but they need 2 energy attachments. They're reliant on EXP share. You should be more consistent, but they should win the prize race if they can keep going. If they get set up good, they win. If they don't, you roll them. I've done a video about Rainbow Road. There should be a link in the description. There was also a couple of not-so-great matchups. There was a Gyarados, which... Gyarados is kind of awkward for both players, because Gyarados trades EX for non-EX, but Gyarados maxes out at 210 damage, so they need to use Meowstic to put 1 damage counter on you and hit for 220. Again, there's a Gyarados video in the description. So it's not brilliant for Gyarados, but they can use Meowstic and get one-hit KOs, like Rainbow Road. And Gyarados and Rainbow Road have basically the same matchup against Rayquaza. If they get set up and get everything they need, they win the game. But let's not forget, ladies and gentlemen, that Rayquaza is one of the fastest, most consistent decks in the format, if not the most. You're not going to have turn after turn to set up. The other deck in Top Cut was Giratina, Gardevoir, Hammers. I don't think Rayquaza's beating that deck, but then if you don't play that deck, you are absolutely sorted. Congratulations to Cedric Guin, or I'm sorry, I'm probably butchering your last name, I do apologise, for winning Liverpool Regionals with Rayquaza, showing us Rayquaza had basically dropped off the map. It is still a good deck. But here's the thing with Rayquaza, and I said this at the beginning of the season, and this will remain true for the rest of the season. No matter when you're watching this video, this will be true about Rayquaza. It is a fast, consistent, powerful deck that will absolutely wreck any metagame that is not prepared for it. But oh my goodness, is it easy to tech against. And if everyone's teching against it, you'll win some of those games, but in a format full of Giratina, Parallel City, Zebstrika, etc., you cannot win with Rayquaza. Now you know the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Pop a like down, pop a comment down, tell me what you think about Rayquaza, etc. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't, to get a friend subscribe if you have. We are rocketing towards 10,000. This is my goal. Please make it happen. I will love you forever. We are at subscriber level 9,000. In fact, over 9,000. Oh yes, it is happening and it makes me very happy indeed. And of course, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassy and click that little thumbnail that just came up. I've got more good videos. Maybe you should give them a go. And of course, the most important thing, look after yourselves until next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross and you've been watching PTCG Radio.